brown earth whispers speak to me in my heart ear. Urgent, lush love kisses vibrate my being awake. I am absorbing all that humanity is doing into my mud body, into my ocean blood, and it is making my cedar brain ache. Beautiful ancestor trees, I hold space for you to grow, for you to talk to humans through your sweet medicine breath and lure them closer to me. I have so many human and animal bones stored inside me that stories flood and fill my belly like a baby just about to be born. There is a never-ending extraction of minerals and nutrients from my stone arms and my rainforest legs. They are not for sale. My whole body is vibrating. Love me. Protect me. Remember me. Wrap your arms around me tight and don't let go. I can hear the gorgeous salmon and the swanky hooligans chanting loudly through their skin that they are lost and disappearing and they can't find their way home to us. Someone here, please help them come home. Huge elder trees weep and belly cry as they are driven out of their ancestral territories in big logging trucks that drive over and suffocate me like being buried alive. May the rich protein scent of the red life blood that has left its memory in the soil of my skin guide and remind you that you are me. We are all earth, and your bodies are built to love, cherish, adore, and protect me forever.
Protect me forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, days and nuns and children of all ages and races, are you ready to
Earth, sky, water, those who crawl, who swim, who walk, and who fly, so quickly forgotten between racial capitalism's intervals of 9 to 5. The peoples of all these interconnected relationships, many, many thousands of years long before you and I got here.
Be
friend. You are my friend. Supernatural one. You are my friend.
Great friend. You are my friend. Supernatural one. You are my friend.
Yeah. Hey.
Guiding the great migration, station to watery station. Courage, love, and patience. These are the things that the river brings. These are the things that the river brings. Rivers come and rivers go. Everyone on earth I know. Some are fast and some are slow. They take everything we can throw in.
Hemlock is alive. Its roots run deep into Mother Earth and is connected to all that is sacred. Hemlock has many gifts. Do not take without asking. Ask and you shall receive. You shall receive. Hemlock is life, healing, and protection. And hemlock loves to dance in the wind.
The trees hold out their arms and cast their eyes.
This coming summer will likely be warmer than last year. And here I apologize for going all scientific on you, but right now that is the only language that exists to describe what the hell is happening out there. Because of a combination of generally higher global temperatures and a reduction of particulates and aerosols in the atmosphere that were masking climate heating, we can expect even higher mean temperatures across the northern hemisphere in 2024. It is projected that for at least 2 months, likely in mid to late summer, we are going to have a foreshadowing of what it's going to be like to live permanently in a 2-degree warmer world.
May we offer another way to describe what the hell is happening out there? Vandalism. Noun. Action involving deliberate destruction of or damage to public or private property, as in an act of mindless vandalism.
What they call vandalism or graffiti, to me, is reminiscent of old pictographs, paintings still seen on mountains and rock walls from the past and present, resilient through a potlatch ban that restricted my tribe and clan from gathering, dancing, and carving our poles and masks. Despite their mission to kill the Indian and the children, we break the spell that the colonists has failed to cast. As these designs remain, marking our vast territories, resembling supernatural beings described in our many various stories. A century later, now what do we see? Servants of the colonial crown charging folks criminally for defacement of what is called city property, most of which was built without communicating with local nations properly in the first place. So which is the worst case? Who is the first one who defaced, layering concrete streets that leave species displaced from their natural habitat? Depicted land on a map, marked down spots saying, gimme, gimme, gimme that. First, they vandalize our villages, vandalize our gooksy, vandalize our rivers and lakes and everything that they seen. Vandalize our homestead and called it their property. Destructive development of ecocidal catastrophe. vandalize the sacred spaces where we harvested plants and dig clams,
raise their flag of British Columbia.
goddamn, pollute the beaches and sea that not only affect us Buckwum people, but eventually affects everybody that inhabits Turtle Island, a spot you've claimed and tagged Canada, hand style North America, wrote Victoria, where you've raised statues of racist, murderous, sexist male figures, go figures. Our law of harmony with Mother Nature now replaced with the rule of the legislature, where politicians are deceitful by nature. Replace land with tear-ridden highways and sea-end railways, casinos and bingo halls to gamble our savings away. Slaughter houses and prisons, shopping malls and mental institutions, museums that store stolen cultural items,
And organic food supermarkets that supply your capsuled vitamins.
So I ask you, who's the real vandal, the real savage animal, the vicious canine that would be safer in the kennel? Who's the real menace, hypocrite who condemns us, that have caused irreversible effects so horrendous, blatantly ignorant to the conscious indigenous consensus? Without our Mother Nature, who would cleanse us? As her climate changes, one day she's gonna flood, erupt, and quake with an impact so tremendous. For what's been done to her glaciers, done to her rainforests, how we've drilled into her mountains and violated her wilderness. We've buzzed her trees of life to sawdust and crushed medicinal plants that once grew so lush. Slowly we've polluted all she produces to nourish us. Your constructed condos won't be enough to shelter us from the storm of the sea that will not only affect us native people, but eventually impacts everybody.
Impacts everybody. It's dawn. The wind disturbs the scorched earth cries out in vain,
We may not have been personally responsible for imposing such horrifying pain on others, but we are responsible for doing everything we can to correct the injustices of the past and to make sure they never happen again.
Singing of being my refuge, and music singing, be my light, shall be my light, shall be my light.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was just so tough to get that. I knew that our bodies are a reflection of the body of Mother Earth, but was I listening? Did I listen? 2 years, almost to the day of my first diagnosis, after continuing my cycle of cancer denial and busyness.
Cancer, denial, busyness. Cancer, denial, busyness.
I received diagnosis number 2 in the same area. I knew that unsustainable growth in my body held a reflection to both the unsustainable pace of my life and the unsustainable demands we force on the earth. We are undeniably interrelated.
We were married for 50 years. When she passed, she gave me the mission to have art speak to climate change. She is the wind that brought me here to this very moment.
What a gift. I have known many gales. They visit the land with great wind and rain. They shake the beings of the world awake and ask, what must you let go?
What are you willing to surrender?
I propose this is a new kind of commons, one that is for everybody.
That would be a true House of Commons.
Do not take more than what you need.
I propose one with heart.
Hishukish Sawa. Everything is one.
Let us use this moment to create a new narrative, one in which we transcend our current path and our current perils and create a new global commons.
Work together as though there was no space between you.
Breathe with me. Soften. Drop deep into humility. Open your heart. Feel the truth.
Not another heart, Francis.
Oh,
yes, John, another heart.
I see them everywhere. Nature gives me these hearts daily. They are messengers, and they bring me so much love and joy, compassion and support, and guidance, and even encouragement.
Strong. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Our light of star shining strong. Hallelujah.
And I am a Kwakwaka'wakw Nuchanov city native, as they say, born on a cold winter's day in a city which should be more commonly referred to as Lekwungen territory. And my tale is one of many common, where at an early age we start our mornings by mourning as we sip on whiskeys and bourbon, which a buckwom uses to tolerate our all once natural surroundings, now defined as urban. Born in a city of hard lessons, where I found heartache and blessings, anxiety from stressing and bad times of which I'm now confessing. A place where concrete streets separate us from the land beneath our feet. And the water is near but far, like my homelands without a car, laden avenues and streets of clubs and bars where light pollution disillusions, misconfiguring our view of constellated stars. The thing that brought me back to my homelands of Yalis was a need for healing, an escape from what hands of doom are dealing. So with a firm talking to or two, I entered the Numgi's Treatment Center, where I learned teachings which I will continuously remember, cherish, and treasure forever, for worse or for better. Teachings of the lands, water, and cedar to help me as I navigate throughout the changes of weather, whether I'm ready or not. And there, in Yalis, at the Numgi's Treatment Center, my auntie said to me, "There's something dark latched onto you, Weiss. Something you've let inside unknowingly, which you need to release. Now the part of you that doubts and laughs needs to cease. You're too young to be deceased, Weiss. You're meant to be a dancer of peace." She said, "Always remember the medicine of the hemlock and your many, many ancestors, both Nuchanov and Kwakwaka'wakw. So if you find yourself between a rock and a hard place, remember the waters of the ocean, rivers and lakes can be your sacred space. To let it out, let it be and let it in. You can place your hand upon your heart that beats within and call upon them. Let's call upon your ancestors before that feeling for too long festers." She said, "There's so many of them, Weiss, they will never leave you sequestered. So many they could fill up this room and each seat of an auditorium. And they hear you when you're praying towards and mourning them. They're here," she said, "so Weiss, have no fear. With the element of fire, you can send your message quartz crystal clear into the atmosphere. To loved ones dear who have departed. And they'll help guide you through a land uncharted. Your healing path is only started. Mother Nature has the power to heal the brokenhearted, Weiss." She said, "Remember, you descend from a vastly branched family tree, deeply rooted in numerous traditional territories, and each one bears an original origin story that have survived despite colonial threats, harmful and predatory." She said, "Now we're taught to never take more than we need. But Mother Nature's been assaulted, the motivation's been greed. The cycle of harm stops with you as you tend to and nurture your seeds. Let them know as they grow, if they believe, then they can achieve. She said, despite all you've endured and been through, nephew, the show must go on. Remember, tell them I said to always remember to live in balance between the right and the wrong. Keep the language alive and honor the waters with songs. Tell them Auntie said, keep your heads up, little warriors, and be strong as you can be. Those were the words of my aunties. I honor the legacy of my aunties. I cherish the words of my grandmothers and aunties. Gayla Kessler and niece, I raise my hands in gratitude to my aunties.
The terror of falling through the ice haunted me. Without warning, panic would seep into every cell of my body. Night after night would find me slumped on the edge of my bed while the story of my impending death played out. See, in my imagination, I didn't escape. I can feel my hands slip from the ice as the freezing current pulls me under. I frantically kick toward the bank and I wedge my back against the ice overhead. I'm pounding and pounding and pounding against the unrelenting ceiling of ice, but it just drives my feet deeper into the muddy riverbank below. Without air, without oxygen, I can't scream, and I'm left there in my mind, dying and drowning in an unrelenting state of terror. Over the coming days, I couldn't shake a feeling of anxiety and dread. I had to do something. So, about a week after falling through the ice, I took my camera and I drove to Lake Winnipeg. I walked as far as I could to a distant spot, a remote spot on the shoreline. I stopped. I felt as though I was crossing some sort of threshold. It was another freezing day, minus 15 degrees at least. I let my coat fall from my shoulders, and then my shirt. I felt the winter slap me on the back. Moments later, I set the timer on the camera, and I stood naked in the howling wind while the shutter fired. After that, I returned as often as possible to the wilderness to find myself both behind and in front of the camera. I wanted to find natural forms that aligned with my human form so that I could become part of the landscape and the landscape could become part of me. I wanted to lose myself in the waters, on the ice, among the trees and on the shorelines. I felt compelled to strip everything away and just sink into the habitat. One day, I climbed a tree. I settled onto one of the branches and I closed my eyes. I could hear the camera clicking every few seconds, and I could feel the warmth of the sun even though it was another cold, wintry day. I could feel my skin and the rough bark meet along the tree limb. I didn't want to move. It was as though I was cradled like a child in his mother's arms, and some emotional space was starting to open up. It was as though something that had been empty was starting to be filled. Eventually, the terrible trauma and stress of falling through the ice gave way to something else. Not just a new awareness of the beauty of the lakeland, but also my place in it. I felt a new sense of belonging. Completely alone with my camera, I discovered that I wasn't alone at all, but I was collaborating and communicating with every living thing around me. I felt a new sense of belonging, and I was in dialogue with my surroundings. And finally, somehow, at peace with the world.
The accident happened while we were descending the Saskatchewan Glacier on the afternoon of the second day. I was so tired that I had given up trying to avoid the big meltwater streams that coursed across the glacier's broken surface. I was cold and wet and worn out, and all I wanted to do was to get down. So I took a shortcut. Unless you've traveled on the surface of a big glacier, it's hard to imagine how much melt can occur on a hot day. There are actually rivers on the surface of the ice. Seeking a direct line, I tried to cross one. The power of the icy water lifted me up and carried me to the mouth of a huge crevasse. One moment I was looking at the sun's sparkle of splashing water. A moment later, I was in the center of a waterfall, plunging into complete darkness beneath the ice. The waterfall cascaded down a series of ice lips to join the river that flowed beneath the glacier. Never before or since have I heard from everywhere around me so many of the different sounds that water makes. Here I was inside a planetary artery, examining firsthand what water does to the world. But then I had this little problem. Only a few inches separated the top of the water and the roof of the ice. In darkness, I kept smashing into boulders and scraping against the underside of the glacier. But just as the shock and wonder were beginning to evaporate, just as calm was about to become sheer terror, the strangest thing happened. The ice above began to glow. At first it was a faint green. As the river swept me onward, the glow intensified. Green gradually merged into a pale blue. I noticed then that rocks were hanging out of a ceiling made entirely of light. Then I washed out of the glacier into sunshine and into the full flood of the North Saskatchewan River, where my problems really began. The accident changed everything. My life flowed toward unexpected ends. I never did get that wood-paneled Ford, but I realize now that I have spent the rest of my life trying to prevent my own culture from carrying me permanently downstream and away from the luminous glory of that subglacial light.